Welcome to Football Daily. This is the real reason Liverpool signed Virgil Van Dijk. In January 2018, after a tough year-long pursuit, Virgil Van Dijk finally landed in Merseyside, joining Liverpool for £75 million, then a world record fee for a defender. His impact on Jurgen Klopp's team was almost instant. Their previously shaky defence improved dramatically and they reached the final of that year's Champions League. A year later, they would win it while amassing 97 points in the Premier League, and 2 years down the line, they are set to be crowned champions of England for the first time since 1990. Clearly, it was money well spent, but how did he become so valuable? How did the Reds know they were making such a brilliant investment? And how did they succeed in getting him to Anfield? Welcome to Everything You Need to Know, the new series where we give you the story behind some of football's defining moments. By now, you're pretty accustomed to seeing us using the numbers and stats to explain how the best players and teams operate, but there will be none of that here, just pure storytelling. And on that note, let's start at the beginning. Virgil van Dijk was born in Breda, a small city in the south of the Netherlands, around 10 kilometres from the Belgian border. He grew up playing cage football and after starting out at local club WDS, had hopped over to nearby Tilburg to join the Willemsvee Academy by the time he was 10, playing at right back. During this period, he worked as a dishwasher part-time, and a career in football was far from a certainty. By his own admission, Van Dijk was a slow right back and didn't have the physical capabilities to play in the centre. He couldn't get in the team and was generally considered too laid back. But that all changed at 17. The young defender had a growth spurt, shooting up 18 centimetres, and his newfound physicality lent itself perfectly to playing centre-back. He improved in his new position, captaining Willem's under-19s, but couldn't make the step up to the senior side. Henry van der Weekt, the club's technical director, was keen to see more experienced defenders in the team as they battled relegation, and Van Dijk was seen as having too many limitations in his game at 18 years of age. In 2010, they decided against offering him a pro contract, and he was allowed to leave for free, joining Groningen after being scouted by club legend Martin Koeman. It was probably the best decision he could have made. He had to move all the way to the north of the country and live on his own for the first time, and while this took some getting used to, he joined an institution with an excellent reputation for developing talent, with alumni including Arjen Robben, Luis Suarez and Koeman's son Ronald, who would later sign Van Dijk for Southampton. But despite making a bright start for the Eredivisie outfit after breaking into the first team in 2011, Van Dijk soon faced another big hurdle. He became ill in the build-up to his side's derby with Heerenveen and ended up needing life-saving appendix surgery. The youngster was in hospital for nearly 2 weeks and even had to sign special documentation for his earnings to go to his mother if he didn't survive. This experience clearly had a big effect on him. Years later, when questioned about the pressure of being involved in a Premier League title race, he replied, "Real pressure is lying in hospital worrying about your future. Pressure is not knowing you'll ever kick a ball again or perhaps even draw breath. I looked death in the eyes." He lost a stone as a result of the ordeal, but following recovery became Groningen's key man at the back, and just a year later received a number of offers from bigger clubs. He turned down Brighton and the prospect of huge wages with Russian club Krasnodar, holding out instead for one of the Dutch giants. But the call never came, with Ajax deciding to go for Mike van der Hoorn instead. Celtic saw his potential where his countrymen didn't, and signed him in June 2013 for £2.6 million, with manager Neil Lennon so impressed with him that he apparently told him in his first training session, "Enjoy yourself here, son, you won't be here for long." But he stayed for over 2 years, gaining valuable experience in the Champions League, and in his second campaign made 58 appearances in all competitions, clocking up more minutes than anyone in the squad, including goalkeeper Craig Gordon. Many expected a European giant to come in and snap up the hottest player in Scotland, but Southampton got there first, securing Van Dijk's signature on deadline day of the summer 2015 window for £13 million. He was an instant hit at St Mary's, missing just 11 minutes of action in his first season, and his leadership at the back earned him the club captaincy in January 2017. Despite missing the rest of that campaign through injury, Van Dijk was attracting interest from all the top clubs, namely Liverpool and Man City. But while City were eventually put off by the lofty price tag pinned on the then 25-year-old, Liverpool went all in. Having looked at more than 30 of Europe's top centre-backs over the previous year, the club's analytics department found Van Dijk to be the clear outlier, trumping the likes of Kalidou Koulibaly and Aymeric Laporte as the man needed to sort the Anfield backline. By the end of the 16-17 campaign, the club had arranged meetings with Van Dijk and his agent Neil Fewings, who also worked for Reds captain Jordan Henderson. This worked in their favour. According to The Athletic, Henderson was able to speak to the defender directly, giving him inside information on Klopp and the dressing room dynamic, and explaining why Liverpool was his best option. Reports then emerged that Klopp had met with Van Dijk personally in Blackpool of all places, and that the defender had already been offered £180,000 a week wages by the club, all before they had officially lodged an offer with Southampton. Outraged, the Saints accused the club of making an illegal approach. The Liverpool hierarchy having already been burned after being found guilty of tapping up a 13-year-old just months earlier, an episode which landed them with a year-long ban from signing academy players, eventually gave in, issuing a public apology and stating they had ended their interest in the defender. But that was just the beginning. During the summer, a frustrated Van Dijk put in a transfer request after the club had accused him of refusing to train and left him out of their pre-season squad. This standoff was the lifeline Liverpool needed, and Klopp knew full well that Anfield was the Dutchman's aim. Over the next few months, FSG president Mike Gordon worked hard to smooth over relations with Saints chairman Ralph Kruger, while the club readied their world record offer. Not put off by what many perceived to be bad behaviour from Van Dijk, Klopp and others at the club simply saw this as a reflection of his determination to play for Liverpool, and they were equally determined to sign him. The timing was perfect. Van Dijk was announced before the January window had even opened, and within 2 weeks, Felipe Coutinho had been sold to Barcelona for £142 million. That was nearly double what they had coughed up for the Dutchman, and after reportedly receiving £105 million of that fee up front, the club were well placed to make further big investments that summer, signing the final pieces of their puzzle in Alisson and Fabinho. 3 days after officially signing, Van Dijk headed home the winner in the 84th minute against Everton in the FA Cup and in front of the Kop. After the game, an ecstatic Klopp described it as a fairy tale in a world with not a lot of fairy tales anymore. For fans of Liverpool, the fairy tale had just begun. So that was the first episode of Everything You Need to Know. Let us know what you thought of our new series down in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions for videos in the future, they will be most welcome. As always, if you enjoyed this, why not click on screen right now for another great Football Daily video, and don't forget to like and subscribe. We'll see you next time.